I got somebody who I admire. We both were born and raised in Detroit. He grew up on the east side, moved to the west. I've been the east sider my whole time being in Detroit as a child. We met each other at Cass Tech, which is the #1 high school in Michigan, but we're both biased with respect to that. Then we went on to continue our academic experience at the University of Michigan. He graduated from there and started working for a company called
The U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. It's a U.S. military school, Long Island.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And you were a director there for about 7 months, right?
No, it was an entry level, like sports information director position. Just did a lot of media relations type of thing.
Okay. Then you went on to work with, hold on one second, St. John's University.
Yep.
You stayed there for 11 years.
Yep.
Right. From that point, you went to, let's see, Major League Soccer, MLS.
Yep.
Right. Hold on. I want you to correct me if I get anything wrong.
Okay.
MLS. And then from that point, he went on to work he worked for Jay-Z. Roc Nation?
Yep, Roc Nation.
And he did all of this while doing freelance work for the NBA. And he still does freelance work for the NBA till this day. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. And then the next thing, his current position is Under Armour, right? Senior Director, Global Social Media Strategy Brand. Anytime you got more than 4 words in your title, you important. You're doing something important. And he's done all of this while still running his own business, right? Mekale Jackson Creative LLC.
Yeah.
Am I right about all that?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, this brother, I stalk his social media account because I grew up with him. So whenever I see him doing something that's out of this world, I'm telling other people like, hey man, I went to school with this guy. He'll post something and he has individuals like Spike Lee, Karan Butler, Jalen Rose in the comment section of his post. And if you have people like that taking the time out to comment on your post, it says a lot about you. It says that you're somebody to be respected, right? Because he's worked at so many prominent, reputable institutions, he's had a chance to meet and sit across from folks like Trey Burke, who's a University of Michigan basketball legend, plays in the NBA, played for the New York Knicks, Dallas Mavericks. Right now, he's with the Houston Rockets. Sham God. This guy played in the NBA too, but he's a playground legend. Got one of the sickest crossovers you ever seen. Sickest, deadliest crossovers. Jordan Brooke. I think this gentleman plays for the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah. He's in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, there's a fourth one. Oh, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball. So it's LaMelo, it's what's all? It's 3 of them, right?
Yeah, LaMelo, Jello, and Lonzo.
See, he know him, the nickname. See, because he got him on speed dial, right? So LeVar Ball, LeVar Ball is one of the best. He's like America's dad, man, right? And I saw on a post a few years back, you went to the Espy Awards.
ESPYs, yeah.
Espy, I don't even know, but I know it's like the major sports awards. It's like the Oscars to movies. That's what it is to sports. And he went on a plane with LaMelo.
Yeah, I could tell you the story.
We're going to get to that story. Hold on, before you get there. Actually, we're going to start off with that story. Tell me the story about that.
No, so I was at Roc Nation.
Uh-huh.
And I think I had been just a couple months into the job, right? LaMelo was, he's a client. He's part of the agency, and he was up for Breakthrough Athlete of the Year. And so we knew he was coming to New York for the ESPYs. ESPYs was, it was in New York. So I get a call from the manager, who's also Roc Nation. Mm-hmm. He calls me that morning. He's like, yo, hey Mekale, because we had talked about it before, because we was like, yo, he's going to the ESPYs. We need to get a +1 or anything like that, just to be there with the client. And so he called me that morning. He said, yo, hey, we got a +1. Meet us at the airport. So I'm like, it's a private airport. So I drop what I'm doing, tell Aisha like, yo, I got to go meet Melo at the airport. So I get in my tux, suit, whatever. Drive off to, to the private airport, meet them, at their private plane.
Dang. Golly.
We hop in the Sprinter van, is myself.
Sprinter van. So that's like the thing that takes you from. Well, tell me what a Sprinter van is.
Yeah, no, it was like one of those big Mercedes.
Yeah.
12 passenger type of van. It was a private van. They were taking us from the airport to South Street Seaport, where the Espys was at.
That's this guy right here. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so we hopped in that, and at that point, like I'm with them, like the rest of the way. It's LaMelo,
and you actually like talk. You right there within arm's reach.
Yeah, like we're right there. It's like, yo, what's up, Melo? we dap up, introduce myself, boom. I have a camera with me. You know, just like, yo, we're taking some exclusive type of footage. Jello was with them. They had a couple more of their homeboys. We hop in the van, we go down to the hotel, we check in with the people at ESPN. And then we hop back in the van. We have to go to where the Espys was taking place, and like Espys was already going on. We go upstairs, and they were saying like, oh, hey, he's sitting here. We take him to the front. Boom, the next award was like his award.
Yeah.
And so he gets his award, and I'm talking. This is my first time at the Espys, and I'm seeing everybody there. I'm like, this is like that's this guy. This is the court.
All of these people you grew up seeing, right?
Everybody is there.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm just taking it all in.
Yeah.
He get his award, and then at that point, he wants to go. So like we wrap everything up. We hop back in the van, go back to the airport, and that was it. That was my time at the Espys.
Man, you just say he throw that out there so nonchalantly. Yeah. Look, man, like the fact that you took pictures, you captured video, and this stuff was flying on social media. I mean, it went viral.
Yeah.
Right. So in my mind, it's like your job is so important because you illuminate the celebrity and put them in the light that we see them in. You're like you're like whoever our favorite celebrity is, he's our favorite celebrity's favorite artist. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, this dude is responsible for how we see these individuals. So I just gotta like give him his flowers because he's going to downplay. He's humble. And to me, that was just so huge to be able to see that. And the fact that, bro, you married, you met your wife in college, y'all still married, Aisha, Jackson, 3 beautiful kids, and they still doing great to this day. So we going to get into this gentleman's story. We're going to find out how it was growing up on the East Side. One thing I know about you, you and your older brother Vance were in the picture with your dad, and your dad was clean.
Yeah.
It's like people back then if they was just going to the liquor store, if they was just going to make a run at CVS, 3-piece suits, clean. And he was 24 or 25. I didn't become a father till I was 32.
Yeah.
So so I guess what that tells me too about society is that people are like waiting till later to have kids, which isn't a problem. But there's something about our parents, like having kids caused them or forced them to mature in ways that they wouldn't have been able to had they not had kids at that age. And your father being a 24 or 25-year-old at that time, he looked very mature. So can you tell me about the first house you grew up in? Tell me about how many siblings you have. Tell me about how it was growing up in a house with your parents.
Yeah, so we started. We were born in an apartment on the East Side. But I barely remember it. I think we moved when I was in kindergarten.
I got you.
So there's only certain things that I remember about it. But I mean, when we moved to the house, we stayed in it was a family house, 3-bedroom, one bath house. I mean, and
it's just you and Vance at that time, right? When y'all moved, or did your younger brother? Was he there yet? Because you have a sister too.
Yeah, there's 7 of us.
7?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Yeah. Okay.
There's 7 of us. I think at one point in that house, 6 kids lived in that house.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how was it growing up in a big family like that? Because you don't see that too often nowadays. Now people are just kind of having 1 or just stopping at 2, maybe 3.
Yeah. So number 1. There's always something to do. I mean, it's a loud house. I mean, it's like, there's a cartoon that's out. It's called Loud House. It's like every time I see it, I'm like, man, that was like our house growing up.
Yeah.
But like it's competitive. I mean, but at the same time, it's like you always have somebody to do something with. Like no matter where I was, like I didn't have to worry about friends because I got my brother.
Wow.
Like anytime we went to, I've always attended school with a brother. So if we were in elementary, I was in 3rd grade. My older brother was in 5th. And then by the time he, leaves and goes to a different school, all right, well, I got another little brother who's coming up. Now I'm the big dog, in the elementary. And then middle school, same thing. It's all right, I'm in 5th, my older brother's in 7th. By the time he graduate out, my younger brother coming in. High school, same thing. College, same thing. So like we all kind of followed each other. But a house like that with so many kids, like we always have somebody to do something with.
Wow.
And we're like just, ultra competitive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and the thing is that you guys are all pretty much successful too. So I mean it speaks to your parents and what they instilled in you guys. What would you say? What were some of the strengths that you got from your mother versus some of the strengths that you got from your father?
So my mom would joke, like, so like if there's 7 kids, there's a 5-year gap between like the first 3, like, so like the first 3 that we're 2 years apart, then there's a 5-year gap. Then it's the next 3, they're like 1 or 2 years apart. Then there's a 5-year gap. Then it's the youngest. All right. But like she always jokes saying that the older 3, we do things in 3. So if one person does it, the other person do it. If one person go to Cass, we all go to Cass. If one go to Michigan, we all go to Michigan. One got married, then we all end up getting married. It's like within the same a year or 2.
Wow.
One buy a house, we all buy a house. One buy a car, we all buy a car. And it wasn't intentional. It was just the way these things happen. So like when you're in an environment where, because one thing she told us, she was like, well, Mekale, if you see your older brother is doing something well, there's no harm. There's nothing wrong with doing it too. Like, it's not a copycat. If you go to the best high school in Detroit, if not America, you're going to go to, like, there's nothing wrong with going to that high school. Like, all right, cool. If he's doing something well, you follow along in his footsteps.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but my mom she's a spiritual person. So I got a lot of that from my mom.
Okay.
My dad is very practical. Like he would just, keep it straight. Like he has
not too many emotions, right? Logical, very rational person.
Yeah, right. If you go to him for advice, he's not going to give you advice, right? So, but he would have this conversation with you and ask you a bunch of questions, and you'll figure out the answer just based off of his questions.
Golly.
Yeah.
So he's almost teaching you to be independent and to figure out it's empowering you and giving you agency to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
He's guiding you.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what you got on a day-to-day basis growing up, pretty much.
Day-to-day basis. I mean, like something would happen, and whether it's I was, got a bad grade in school, or something would happen, and he'll just ask a question like, all right, well, I guess you better think about going to community college. I'm like, well, I don't know about all of that.
Yeah. Like, what you taking it that far for, Pops? But he was a realist.
Yeah, a realist. Yeah. So so for me, it's like, all right, well, let me get my act together. Or if it's something's coming up, like, all right, well, I'm about to have a kid. Like he'll just say, all right, well, what's the next step? What are you gonna do? Like, like, do you have your things in order? So like he's very real.
Yeah.
He's calm. I've never heard him yell or scream. But he keeps it real and even keel.
Wow. And that's kind of good for you, I'm sure, as a dad now, because for me, I didn't have that presence growing up, and I was a little all over the place in terms of my emotions, right? And I obviously knew I had to get my act together once I had children, because, they pretty much go off of what they see and what's being demonstrated in the household. So even when me and my wife are working through conflict, I want them to see it being done in a healthy way. But for you, I'm sure just you seeing that was your norm. Like seeing your parents work out things respectfully, that was your norm.
Definitely, it was definitely the norm, because like even now, like they just celebrated 40 years of marriage.
Oh, shout out, man. Shout out to the Jacksons.
Yeah.
40 years. Wow, you don't see that often either.
Yeah,
now.
so for me to see that, it was like even today, like, hey, this is what I see. I see that there's no other option but to you figure out a relationship. Like you figure this thing out. And for me to see the advice and the just him being him, like, influence a lot of my decisions, because it's like, hey, I've seen my dad do it that way. Or like I remember, like, something that sticks in my head, like he always said, like, you put me on any block in Detroit, I'll figure my way back home. I'm like, all right, like, he'll be able to figure it out.
That's like a Jay-Z quote somewhere that sounds like that. Yeah, put me anywhere on God's green earth, right? Yeah. Wow.
So like, both of them together is very influential in all of our lives.
Yeah. I remember Denzel Washington's son had, and I can't remember what his name, John David Washington, right? He had a quote or he was on this, I don't know, show being interviewed, and he said his mother taught him how to love and his father taught him how to hunt. And that balance is so important.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get it from both. I know a lot of people who were raised in single parent households and the mother was trying to teach the kid how to hunt and love. And it's a conflict there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, man, I don't want you to be teaching me how to hunt, and then, at some point you'll be at odds with mom. And so for me and my wife, she's never even really had to discipline the kids like that because I want her to be a nurturer to them. I'll be the bad guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And every now and then we do mix. It's not like we can't assume the other person's role when we need to, but clearly we have our roles in the house, man. So your dad and your mother, the way they raised you guys, the fact that it was 7 of y'all, and I remember in high school, what I remember about you is being somebody who everybody liked. You were always easy to work with. And I think, did that help? When you got 7 of y'all, so it's 6 siblings, you have to be somewhat of a good negotiator. You have to be willing to share and compromise, right? Has that helped you even as being a husband or just in life, in your career?
Being willing to compromise?
Yeah, because you got 6 other people you competing with in the house. So some people now, if they haven't had many siblings, if they were only raised in a household with just them and their parents or just one other sibling, these type of people tend to not. Sometimes they're not easy to, like, if they don't get their way, you'll see it. Yeah. But with you, if you don't get your way, it's like, oh, well.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you find in the house with 7 kids, like, I have my areas of the house. Like, you know what, I'm going to try to escape. Because I value peace and quiet. Like, even with 3 kids now, it's like, you know what, I would stay up 9 p.m. to 2 a.m., whether I was freelancing, whatever it was that I was doing, even if I don't have anything to do, I'm going to still stay up because I value peace.
Conscious peace, because you being asleep, you're not really conscious. Yeah, I got
exactly.
you.
Yeah, conscious peace. So even, in a house with 7 kids, like, yeah, you know what, we have those times where we're arguing, we're playing Madden, 2K, NBA Live, whatever it is. You know what, like, at the same time, like, I like my little area over here where I can just close the door and just play NBA Live, against the computer. Yeah. So, and then you take those experiences and you go to school. Like, I'm not an extrovert, right? So I consider myself an introverted extrovert, where it's I like energy, but I like, I would dip out. Like,
you would lead a party before it's over.
I would lead a party before it's over and not tell you goodbye. Like, I'd be like, I may tap you on your knee, like, yo, damn, I'm out.
Yeah. But you might get a text later, like, hey, Mekale, where you go?
It was like,
I'm sorry, I ain't want to interrupt you.
So but I like good energy around me. So, so like those experiences at a school, like you may not think it's not like a apples to apples comparison between, like, all right, well, you had a bunch of kids in the house, so you can, like, negotiate and all that stuff, and you take it to school. Like, well, no, it's a different environment.
So you have to learn at each place, pretty much. It's different. I get you.
Yeah, in schools, like, you have to learn how to talk with people that you don't know. Like, in the house, I know my brothers.
You're comfortable with all of them, so we can offend each other, and we're gonna be good the next day.
Yeah. Not even the next day. Yo, we gonna be good. we gonna be good. In an hour or two. But school is a little different. But, like, having the competitive mindset, at least for myself and, like, my the 2 closer, my 2 other brothers, it's like, like, we're ultra competitive. So it's like, all right, if I see you doing something, all right, cool. There's no jealousy with it.
It's healthy competition.
Right, yeah.
But it's also this thing where out of your brothers, each of you has come in a different place at a certain point, like first place, second place, whatever. So that doesn't necessarily discourage you in the real world. Right. It's like, okay, well, I came in 3rd place, so let me figure out what I need to do to come in the first place. Yeah. As opposed to some people, they run into that and it's like they become paralyzed. They can't move forward because of like this fear of rejection, so to speak. So they want to stay in a safe place, not realizing that it's actually worse being in that place than actually going out and failing at the things you want to pursue. So I get you, man. And then you went on to, like I said, at University of Michigan. I remember me and you went through a bridge program, and this was a program where we were allowed to get a glimpse of college, get some extra credits before the freshman year fall semester started. And one thing I remember is you being a good team player, whether we was playing football, whether we was doing schoolwork, very industrious, very knowledgeable in so many different topics. Like I can ask you about religion, politics, entertainment, academic, whatever the case may be, you always had an answer. And even when I think we stayed in Stockwell at that time, and I remember we had this big fight. It was one side of the dorm against the other side. And like I said, you always seem to be a pretty well-kept person, like mature even for your age at the time. But you was out there scrapping it was like one side of the dorm versus the other side, and I saw you out there wrestling with somebody. I'm saying, oh shoot, look at Mekale getting dirty. You know what I'm saying? So I always remember you just being a good team player, man. What did you get from being at Cass or graduating from Cass, and what do you think you got from going to Michigan? Obviously, what were some of the things you walked away from those experiences with?
Cass, I think that defined who I was. So, I mean, like anytime you go to an inner city school, like in the middle of Detroit, for me, it's the people. Like there's a lot of smart people come out of Cass, like, and there's also there's some hood people.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. It's a little bit of both. Like you can have someone who's 4.0 GPA, 3.7 GPA, and we be in the lunchroom, they selling weed right there.
Yeah, that's facts.
But they're some of the brightest people. So it's the hustle mentality. So the thing that I got from just even growing up in Detroit and going to Cass was the hustle mentality. Like, you know what, I'm going to get this done because the world says that, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that, or like, hey, you're in the middle of downtown Detroit. You're just a black kid in the middle of the city. Like, maybe like you're not supposed to go to college or you're not supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. But just being in Detroit, being at Cass, like it put that grind in me. It's like, okay, look, I can do it. I can figure this out. Even though I may not have all the resources, I'm going to go figure it out. And you take those experiences to Michigan, which I think there's a big learning curve for me. All right.
Hell yeah, it was, because I remember I felt like I was about to drop out after the first year.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, because like you and I, like we knew who each other were. Like we knew each other in high school. Like, I knew who you were. You kind of knew who I was, but we didn't hang out. Like, completely different circles. Right?
Yeah.
So, but once we got to Bridge, and I said, like, no disrespect, but oh, Dave's smart. Like,
everybody said that. It was you, Anisha, I think Danielle Howard. They was like, what you doing here?
Yeah, I'm like, yo, Dave Tinsley is like, yo. So I think like
Tyrone Winfrey, late great Tyrone Winfrey, God rest his soul. He was the reason.
Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, look, he was the reason. I just got back from his funeral, like today, and like he was the reason that any of us, there's seven of us, all seven of us, went off to college. 4 of us went to Michigan, 1 at Harvard, 1 went to Central, 1 went to Wayne State.
Damn.
But he was the reason. He unlocked that. Even the concept of higher education.
Wow.
In my older brother's life, my life, because we were the first people exposed to college.
Absolutely.
So he took us to Michigan State, and that was like my first time even knowing like this is a college campus and like these are the possibilities. So like we always credit him for even sparking the idea of hey, college is a possibility, and that just kind of just laid the foundation for all of us to end up going to college.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you went to school when you were in high school. I know you were doing marketing.
Yeah.
Right. Did you do that at Michigan as well?
Nah, Michigan. I was an English major.
You was an English major? Yeah, because I remember you being good at writing and all that stuff. But so the career path you took was a complete 180.
Yeah. So I chose English because I figured. Hear me out. I didn't like math, like because I'm good at math. I was great at math at Cass.
You were, yeah.
And then you get to Michigan and it's like, man, I wasn't in like the CSP math, and I didn't like that in math. There's only one correct answer.
Yeah.
All right. But in English, I figured like. Like, you can't fail me on a paper if I'm arguing my point.
This is subjective here.
I can argue the sky is red,
Yeah.
but if I bring up these facts, like, well, this author had said that the reason the sky is red is because of, you know, the blood that Moses put in, you know, whatever. Like, as long as I'm quoting, you know, whatever references,
You can't give me no zero on this.
exactly. So that's why I chose to major in English, because I'm like there's no way that you could fail me.
Wow. Now here's the thing. You went to Michigan largely because of the Fab Five. They were a huge cultural influence, and you got a chance to actually give Jalen Rose his flowers when you did work with him, right? Yeah. So what inspired you about the Fab Five?
I'm a huge basketball fan.
Yeah.
Huge. All right. So
wait, who is the Fab Five comprised of? I'm about to put you to the test. I know you were a sports connoisseur. Who were they comprised of?
Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson.
The last two I didn't even know. So I'm sorry.
It's a silly question.
So why did they inspire you?
Just the way they played, the way they talked trash, the way they celebrated one another, the way they won, the fact that they were from Detroit. They walked the same streets that I walked. They talked the same way I talked. They wore their clothes the same way I wore my clothes. They played, you know, they did things that we were doing in the city, whether it was playing basketball with black socks. We were doing that not knowing that, you know, for me, like that's normal. It's like, but the way they did it and they put it on that pedestal, it's like, man, hey, what they're doing is also normal, because like we're already doing that because it's a culture thing. So when I seen them and, you know, and they're playing against those guys at Duke and they're playing, like, you know, just in that era, UNLV, whoever they're playing, it's just, I looked at them and it's like, man, like I think that they're cool. And this is before I even had the idea of me even going to school.
Wow.
It was like, you know, I would just watch the games, you know, the championship games, and, you know, just not knowing that, you know, college is a possibility. But like once, you know, I got to that age where I'm like, okay, it's time to decide what college I want to go to. It's like, well, I remember watching the Fab Five. You know, I was a big Michigan fan, and I ended up following those teams even after the Fab Five left. It's just because of them, just the way they conducted themselves, like their swagger and their success.
So what did you walk away from Michigan with, University of Michigan, that prepared you for the real world?
Everything. Like Michigan, I had a lot of ups and downs. Like I wasn't.
Yeah, me too.
Like Cass was one thing. Like, well, I think we breezed through Cass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I never studied.
Yeah. No offense to Cass, but it's just Michigan is just a different level.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we'll graduate, you know, high 3-point, you know, whatever, cool.
Easy, yeah.
I get to Michigan, even in Bridge. It's when I met you, like, you know, I figured I breezed through Bridge as well. I'm like, all right, whatever, cool. You know, I think we had a thing, it's like, oh, it'll get done. You know, I just remember that.
I remember that, yeah.
Like, you know, and then
you were so cool, like your dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm stressed out. You like, it'll get done.
Yeah, it'll get done. So breeze through Bridge, thinking like, oh, this is what college is about. And then I hit that first semester. And it was like, I had my first ever 2-point anything. Like, wow. I think I had a 2.7 that first semester.
Whoa.
And it was a wake up call for me. Like, man, you know, that was the first time I ever had a 2-point, and like it hit me. So
is that when your dad told you, like, hey, you might have to go to a community college?
No. There's some things after that. I had got written up for like plagiarizing.
What?
Yeah, this was, I forget what year, maybe my junior year. And
we getting the honest candid moment from Mekale Jackson, y'all.
Yeah, so I wrote a paper, and like I think I had written it like back to back. So I wrote a paper, and I didn't properly credit a bibliography source.
Oh, okay.
And because it was like a general concept, so I'm in the dean's office or whatnot, and he said, yeah, you got to credit everything. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? So you telling me if I was driving down the street and I see a billboard that says like, you know, Magic Apples, whatever it was, and I'm inspired by Magic Apples, and I say something like Magic Apples, you said I have to credit that in my paper?
Oh, Mekale is a masterful arguer. I don't know if that's a word, but yeah. Debater.
He said, yes, you do. I said, well, fine. I plagiarized the thing. Yeah. So, and then like another similar incident happened. So they were going to kick me out, and but they were going to review it because, you know, the things happened back to back. They didn't have time to talk to me. So there was this like 2-day period where I was waiting to see if I was going to get kicked out or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling my dad, and he was like, he was like reading a newspaper or something. And he's like, all right, well, I guess you better, see what community college you're going to go to. Damn. I'm like, nah, that's not going to happen, man. So,
I like that though. It's because he knew exactly how to motivate you. Because a lot of parents would have been like, "What's wrong with you?" Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
No, he's like, he already know you upset with yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be honest, that type of plagiarizing ain't. That's actually a respectable plagiarism, right? Versus the plagiarism where you just copying off of your homeboy. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So I know a lot of people who was doing that. Yeah. So, but you learned a valuable lesson, I guess. Yeah.
But Michigan in itself, like it taught me, again, like it taught me how to grind because I knew. Yeah, I joined my fraternity then, and like it was all about this like this self-development. That's where I realized that okay, I'm going to go into graphic arts, and it wasn't because of I had an interest in graphic design or graphic arts. It's because I joined my frat, and one of my fraternity brothers was making the party flyers. I'm like, yo,
wow.
I'm like, yo, his name AJ. I was like, yo, Adrian Reynolds. I'm like, yo, AJ, yo, how'd you make this party flyer? And he said, oh, I did this thing in Photoshop. This is before like YouTube or anything. So I said, yo, if I bought a computer, can you put whatever program you got and put it on mine?
What piqued your interest in that?
I just thought it was cool.
Damn.
It looked good. So I'm like, man, if I'm promoting an event or a party, wow, that's the way I would want to do it. Like, that visual right there looks really good. Yeah. And like, because I was already, like, I would play around in like Microsoft Paint. Yeah. This was back when Paint was like really popular. Yeah. Play around in Microsoft Paint, do things in emails, like, how to like, just make an email look really good visually. But then I saw like what he was doing. I just thought it was.
See, and you always been a jack of all trades. So I'm not surprised by you seeing something and like, yo, I want to learn that too.
Yeah, yes.
So that's where your interest grew in graphic design, pretty much. Okay, and then you mentioned your fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. Did I get that right? Because I don't want nobody coming after me. Alpha Phi Alpha, and you got to be an intelligent, astute individual to join a frat like that. We're talking about Paul Robeson, Martin Luther the King Jr., Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Thurgood Marshall, W.E.B. Du Bois. Like, there's so much. Mekale Jackson, right? So let me ask you this. Why were you interested in joining that frat? Because there were multiple you could have joined. Yeah. And what have you gotten from that frat since being in it? You know what I'm saying? What have you learned and how has it shaped who you are today?
So I joined that frat. Look, there's a shallow answer, and then there's a like.
I know the shallow answer. I think I do, but yeah.
I don't think you do.
Okay. I'm assuming. Go ahead.
I don't know. Because like for me, okay, like one thing about me, sometimes it takes the smallest, most basic thing to really like motivate me, and I could take that one small basic thing and run through a wall with it. Wow. Like it doesn't take much motivation to spark like
just a small seed.
Just a small seed. And like what that small seed was, it was like I end up seeing like the line before me, like Matt Weaver and all those guys who came right before me. I saw them it was like the Naked Mile Run, it was in front of the Michigan Union. They had just crossed it, they're chanting and all this other stuff. I saw they had the big paddles. He had the hat. I'm like, man, that's cool. Yeah. I like those chants. I want to be.
Oh, that's why? Wow.
Well, it was that.
That was part of it. Yeah.
It was that was part of it. But then, because I didn't know about fraternities beforehand, my brother had some experience with the Kappas. It wasn't positive.
I know your younger brother. Didn't he pledge too?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We don't have to go over that. So anyway, your older brother had some experience, so you didn't really know much about it. But
yeah, he had friends who were Kappas.
I got you.
And then like my friend Gerald, who ended up becoming a Q, like he was interested in Qs. He ended up becoming one.
I got you.
But I wasn't interested in the Qs. But what I saw about the Alphas, I'm like, the way they conducted themselves around campus, the way Abdul kind of walked around campus, I'm like, man, like they seem like they're about something and they're cool. So all right, cool. You know what? I want to join, but ultimately it was I wanted to join a fraternity, specifically Alpha, because I wanted to separate myself from my brothers. All right.
I got you.
When you grow up in a house with 6, 7 other kids, it was, middle school. I'm known as Little Big Vance. I'm taller than my older brother. Right?
So it was like this quest for you to find your own way.
Yeah, I wanted to find my own voice. I wanted to have my own identity.
I got you.
Because I was always Vance's little brother.
Yeah.
So I joined the frat because I said, look, I'm at Michigan, and also like at Cass, like people would know me as being quiet, and like even though like by the time my junior senior year came around, like I'm not quiet, but the way you all know me from freshman and sophomore year is quiet. So like in the high school environment, it's tough to shake a perception about
Absolutely.
you because like you're in that same tight knit community.
Yeah.
So in college, like it was even in Bridge, I'm like, okay, well, one thing I'm not going to be known as is quiet. So in Bridge, I made sure to go up to every single person, introduce myself, say, hey, what's up? I'm Mekale.
How hard was that to do that when that wasn't necessarily your MO prior? Just to go up to people that you didn't know and, like you threw yourself into that, which I think obviously worked for you. It benefited you in the long run. But was that hard to do? Or
it was really hard.
Damn.
But I knew the consequence if I didn't do it. I was like, you're not going to know me as, I don't want the stigma of like, oh, that's the quiet guy over there. Like, no, I want you to know who I am. Like, I want you to know my personality, and I'm going to step out my comfort zone because like I don't want to be comfortable. Right.
Wow. And because you can't really grow unless you put yourself in uncomfortable situations. There's a quote, a guy named Thomas Sowell, he says, there are no perfect solutions, only trade-offs. It's almost like pick your poison.
Yeah.
It's going to be poison one way or poison the other way. Which one you willing to live with, right? So I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. It's almost like, there are consequences to putting yourself out there because you could put yourself out there and people might not receive you in the way you want to be received. But the consequences of not putting yourself out there at all, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. So like I take that same mindset in regards to everything that I do. So, like because Aisha and I were just having this conversation.
Aisha is his beautiful wife.
Yeah. About getting to a place of comfort. Like, no, like, we don't want to be comfortable because comfort breeds complacency. And it's like, well, I'm not going to be complacent. So, so I would put myself in uncomfortable situations, like where I put myself out there, whether it was introducing myself to everybody in Bridge or like, I'm going to join a fraternity, even though like my mom didn't want me to join a fraternity because, whatever.
The hazing and all those rumors. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even if it was like, hey, if I'm, starting my freelance journey and I'm just blindly reaching out, cold calling different schools and stuff like that. Be like, hey, look, this is who I am. So like, every step along the way, it's like, well, you kind of have to like step out your comfort zone and good things can happen.
Damn. So you leave college, you work for the entry-level position that we talked about at the company that man, that's a big name. So what's the name of it again?
It's the United States Merchant Marine Academy.
So what did you take from there? Because you weren't there for a long time before you went on to St. John's University. So what did you learn there in that entry-level position?
There, I didn't learn anything from.
He's gonna be honest with you.
Yeah. So from that particular job, I didn't learn anything. But that's not the story. The story is like it takes a step of faith to even get there. Because like the question is, well, how did I get there? Because you come from a school like University of Michigan, Big Ten, Power 5 school, and then I go to a Division III military academy on the eastern part of Long Island. Hey, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to work in sports. So after I was graduating and it was time for me to apply for jobs, I ended up interviewing at ABC Sports, like in New York. I was trying to move to New York because Aisha, my wife, girlfriend, then moved up to New York to pursue fashion. So I'm like,
got you. Okay.
I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to follow you, but my dad wasn't going to let me move to New York and live with her. So he said, you got to find a job. I'm like, cool. I'll find a job.
Yeah. Right. So that's when your dad, that's the one time he told you like, hey.
Yeah. He told me straight up, like,
you ain't doing that now.
That's what you ain't doing.
That ain't no Jackson. That ain't no Yeah.
So I interviewed at ABC. It was in like TV sales department or whatever. So I drove up. My dad hopped in the car with me, drove up 10 hours. They weren't paying for me, flight or anything. It was an entry-level job. Interviewed with like 10 people. It was like an 8-hour interview day.
God.
Yeah. And went back home.
10 people in one day?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
That's like a day shift, like a whole 8-hour shift.
Yeah, and I'm just going through, just interviewing. But like, like one of my philosophies is Like, you never know like why you go through something, because I think what I'm about to tell you is because like that process wasn't for me. It was for somebody else. Because when I was interviewing with all those people, I ended up following back up with them like via email. This was in 2006. I followed back up with them over email like once a week, all 10 of them, once a week, following back up. Because like you got to tell me no straight up. Like, you tell me no, I can accept a no, but what I'm not going to accept is like a non-answer.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I will follow up every week, and this went on to about January. I remember I interviewed in like September. Every week I'm trying to get a job, and so finally they called me back. But this time I accepted a job at the Merchant Marine Academy. And, so they called me back, say, hey, Mekale, you didn't get that job, but there's a similar position open, same department. And they got so much great feedback from everybody else I interviewed with, because they said, I have great follow-up abilities. And it was a sales job. And they said, they want to give me the position. I'm like, well, thanks, but no thanks, because I just accepted a job at the academy.
That speaks to your integrity.
Yeah. Well, that just speaks to, I wanted to be in college sports.
Yeah.
And but what I said was like, all right, but I have a friend who has the same resume as me. Like, could you look at him? Could you hire him?
Whoa.
And his name is Ronnie. And Ronnie Johnson had just moved to.
I remember. I know Ronnie. Yeah.
He just moved to.
He had his own business with the grilled cheese.
Yeah. So I called him. He moved. I said, yo, do you want to work at ABC? He was like, yeah. I was like,
what?
So I said, yo, send me your resume. I'll give it to this HR person. I gave it to them. They called Ronnie next day. Ronnie went out the following day after that. They hired him like almost on the spot.
So what like most, oh my God, now I got questions, because young people, we're selfish in the sense that we're just trying to find our own way, find out who we are in the world, and just establish ourselves as a force. And you thinking about your homeboy, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times we're kind of self-absorbed in that phase of life, but you thought about him enough to say, hey, I'm gonna put him on with this. Wow.
That's what I do with everything. Like, whether it's knowledge, whether it's, like I want to connect, even like within my industry in sports, creative, it's like, I'm not going to be selfish with the things that I'm doing. Like, yeah, I got mouths to feed, I have career goals, I have objectives and things like that. But I think Denzel has a quote that I had on my wall, and I forgot what it was, like, word for word, but it's something along the lines of, it's not about like, like what you're doing right now. It's about like who you're bringing with you.
Wow.
So it's like if I have an open door, like, I'm going to go out in front. I figured out how to open some of these doors with all these different companies or organizations. I'm going to, if I can mentor you and just give you input, I'm going to do that. But if I see an opportunity for somebody, I talk to a lot of people. It goes back to Bridge, when I made sure to introduce myself to everybody in Bridge, because I want to step out my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, now it's like, all right, cool. If I meet any creatives, anything like that, and if I see something open up, like, yo, hey, Dave, hey, let me introduce you to this person over here, because, like, they're looking for, another producer to do X, Y, and Z. Or, hey, Joe, like, there's this design job that I can hire you for. Like, I like to connect the dots because it increases my my network. It gives me, just influence. But also, like, it feels good as doing something good for somebody else.
Damn. So, okay. So you didn't really learn a lot at the entry-level position, but it got your foot in that industry.
Yeah.
In which case, when you started working for St. John's University, well, they saw this on your resume. You had already got a foot in the door pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you gained from that pretty much.
Yeah. So,
or no, I don't know.
No, that's exactly what I gained. So I gained just access to this college sports industry that I wanted to be in. Because it's tough to break in. Because I was like already interning at Michigan right before I went to the Merchant Marine Academy.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So like I graduated Michigan, and I spent the semester still on campus trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Wow. I said, all right, I want to do design, I want to do sports, something with computers. So I did all three. I ended up working almost full-time hours in IT on campus. So from 7 to 4, I would do that. And then I would leave there from 4, and then from 4 to about 9, I will go to the athletic department and like work basketball games just interning, just doing whatever I could.
You wasn't getting paid for all of this stuff, was you?
With the IT job, I was getting paid for.
Yeah.
The internship, I wasn't.
No, right.
And then, so I would do that from like 4 to 9. And then from 9 to about
12 hours. Okay.
From 9 to 2, I ended up knowing the one of the club owners at like Studio 4. And I was doing like his party flyers. So I would go there so I could like, just make flyers for him and promote his little parties then. And that was my experience. Like, okay, I have the design experience with Studio 4. I had the sports experience with Michigan. I had the computer experience with the IT. So I did all three until
talking about 17 hours a day. See, that's why you be staying up to 2 o'clock in the morning every day, still to this day.
Well, that's a whole different thing. That like that's like those hours are dedicated to my business.
Got you.
So I was there from 9 to 2. I've been doing that for years because I would work the 9 to 5, whatever it was.
So you used to work in multiple things, pretty much juggling multiple balls, pretty much.
Yeah, I think everybody should be working.
I'm just listen. You throw that out there like that's something everybody. Some people it's like they one at a time because they might get overwhelmed once they throw a second ball up in the air. Right?
Well, regardless of like what it is, I'm of the belief that no matter who you are, you should be working on something for yourself. And whether it's 1 hour a day, whether it's 2 hours a day, you should be building something for yourself at some point. I just decided because New York, you got a family and everything like that. I decided, hey, from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'm working on all client projects.
Golly.
So that's what I did every single day.
Yeah. And then get up and do your 9 to 5 pretty much. Do it all.
Get up, do it all over again. So
golly. So St. John, right? St. John's University, 11 years.
Yeah.
And you were moving up within the ranks while you were there, right?
Yeah.
How was your experience working there?
Love St. John's.
Yeah.
I loved it. I mean, looking back, I'm like, man, I was there for 11 years.
11 years, yeah.
So I loved it because I love college athletics. I love the energy. Like, you don't read, like, working in college athletics, working on the college campus, time stands still because you're always around youth. You're always around culture. You're always around the 18 to 22-year-old because, like, I've always known, like, what was the most popular music, the newest slang, because I'm around all those kids
so it kept you young. Yeah.
So I just love college athletics.
Just the atmosphere, everything.
Yep. And it allowed me to just like for my career, like it allowed me to do a few different things. I was doing design. It was good promotion because like I would design things, put it on billboards in New York. I would do a big campaign in Times Square. I put stuff up at the Garden. All of this stuff ended up leading to like all of my other projects, all of my other clients, because St. John's was the foundation in which like anything that I saw, like I had free reign to just be creative and just do it. Whether it's designing courts, slogans, like
Free reign?
Free reign, because I was there for so long. At some point, and I ended up leading like creative digital marketing, licensing, multimedia. It's like I was.
So that means you don't have nobody, like you make the final decision pretty much.
I mean, yeah, I was the face. Like at one point, like I'm designing, I'm creating everything. It's like the basketball team, walk out with "We Are New York's team" shirt. Yeah. It's like, no, that was my idea. I negotiated that. I did that, and like they're wearing it. It's like, no, like I had a lot to do with the marketing and the visual output of the university in those 10 years that I was there.
Wow. So, okay, you've done plenty of jobs where you've had creative freedom and creative control.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you've done a lot of jobs where you had that client that was like, hey, now give you notes and you have to incorporate those notes and go through several iterations of that, right?
Well, yeah.
So obviously you prefer the opportunities where you have the creative control, but there is something to gain from having the humility to take constructive feedback and deliver.
Yeah. So outside of St. John's, like, sure, like that was the 9 to 5 back then. And you gaining enough trust with the administration, with the fans, with, alumni where you have influence to do those things. But, from my 9 to 2, like my own personal business, like
clients.
I got clients. Like I have clients NBA, Bleacher Report.
You better stunt, man. It was Big Ten Network.
Big Ten Network, Phoenix Suns, Cleveland Cavs. It's like 10 different universities.
Damn, yeah.
So it was like, well, at that point, you're a hired gun. At that point, it's like, all right, well, yeah, like, you know, they want you to create and use your expertise to execute a project, but at the same time, like, you're a contractor, you're a freelancer,
The customer always right, you know.
right.
And that,
So
yeah.
so it's like, yeah, hopefully, like, what we deliver is good. Like, what I put on paper is like, man, that looks really good, and hopefully they accept it like that. But at the end of the day, you know, like, they give us a brief and we execute on the brief.
But as a contractor, right? Because
Yeah.
it's your business. There's times where the benefits of the job might not necessarily outweigh the cost financially. Right? Because if your goal is to please the customer, sometimes you might hit a point where it's like, damn, I'm eating into my profit now, because, you know what I'm saying? Or I don't know. I'm just speaking from an ignorant standpoint. Does that happen often?
For me, no, because I'm very particular in, like, what jobs I do. Right? So even though I have a skill set of graphic design, it's rare that I do anything outside of sports, because, number one, look, I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, so if Mr. Jewelry Shop wanted me to design this campaign or design, you know, some flyer, whatever it was, like, man, no thanks. I don't have an interest in that. Like, because you'll find yourself spending more time with something that you don't like. And I said, well, I like sports, so I would just spend my time on sports. So it's, you know, like, sure, I don't care how many revisions you have, because, like, for me, it's a passion. So, you know, and it's not necessarily eating into any margin, because at the end of the day, you know, I was a single entity LLC. Like, this
You're not paying a bunch of employees and all of that stuff. Yeah.
This is me. This is going to.
I don't have a lot of overhead.
Yeah. You know, I'm doing it out my own basement. I mean, I'm doing it, you know, in my own office.
Yeah. And even if you are losing some, you still get more experience along the way, right?
Right.
So now, again, MLS, I mean, Major League Soccer. I never remember you playing soccer. I remember you playing a lot of football and basketball. Yeah. So what made you switch over to that once you left St. John?
Yeah. So I was at St. John's, and then I was doing all, you know, the entire freelance thing. But one thing that I never considered myself a graphic designer, right? Even though I was, right?
Wow, yeah.
But I said, don't call me a graphic designer. Like, you would think, like, yo, but Mekale,
after 11 years, Mekale, what's up? Yeah.
No, because, like, I fought for years. So, like, the reason I was there for so long is because, like, you know, I was trying to, like, move the stigma away from me being a designer, because my career goals was not graphic design.
Oh, like, you had your eyes set on bigger things.
Right.
Yeah.
I say I use graphic design as a tool to amplify the things that, you know, that I wanted to do. Like, I could be hands-on with it. So I'm like, all right, well, you know, if I'm in marketing, you know, if we have billboards and stuff, all right, cool. I have this vision for this billboard. I can actually do the billboard and put it up. Like, hey, I can do it too. But what I found was, no matter how far, like, you know, if I climbed the ranks at a school like St. John's, I was still, like, you know, it's college. So it was like, I was still, like, the primary designer. So I couldn't shake this notion of, oh, Mekale's a designer.
This label. Yeah. Right.
And, like, even, like, the freelancing thing was all design. So I'm like, okay, well. But I started to break away with it. But even though at the point when I left, I wasn't a designer anymore. Even though I was still designing everything, I was so much more. So I wanted an opportunity I needed to, like, break away and really, you know, just do something different where, like, I need to get away from being a designer. But also I wanted the professional league experience. And
oh, right. That was the first experience at the professional level. I get you. Wow.
Yeah. Even though I was already freelancing with the NBA, but as a designer, I said I needed full-time professional league experience.
Wow. Yeah. You had a plan. Good Lord. Yeah.
And that role opened up, and I was able to still use design. I use design as a tool. No matter what I do, it's you know, I think
it was good to have that to fall back on.
Well, not even fall back, but, like, and what I was doing with social, like you realize that, like there's a lot of social media experts out there who don't know how to design. But if I come in as a social media expert and I know how to design, it was like, well, I don't have to, like, source this to anybody else. Like, hey, this is how it should be.
So when they interviewing you, they like, oh yeah, well, this guy only gonna give us this, but this guy, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. There's pros and cons. I mean, because then, like you said, like, I don't know soccer like that. I went in and told them, like, I'm not a huge soccer buff, but the beauty of a league like MLS, they weren't looking for that. They were looking for
Wow.
different perspectives. And
Yeah.
if you understand sport, because like I told them, and like I tell anyone, like I worked at St. John's for 12 years. I didn't know fencing, but I marketed fencing. I
Wow.
promoted fencing.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that sport to make it look good. I don't need to really be a soccer purist to understand soccer, because sometimes in any sport you could be such a purist where you don't even know how to talk to a casual sports fan. So like, no, I'm coming with a casual sports fan perspective, because there's lots of people in the inner city. There's lots of people in even Detroit who don't know soccer. But like, if I come in with this view of like, hey, no, I can explain it to someone in a basic, simplistic way.
Wow.
Where like I can explain all of like the soccer language and lingo that the soccer purists will use.
Wow. Yeah.
It may not resonate to someone who don't understand stoppage time or full time.
Yeah.
Things like that. Just terminology. In the sport.
Wow. Man, that's a lot right there, man. I always think too, especially with you being the CEO of your own business, like, you get to the point to where you got a bunch of employees and you don't even have to do any graphic design. The fact that you know what it takes to do it means that you have an eye to be able to hire the right person. You can speak their language.
Exactly.
So I think that's dope, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you went from there, Jay-Z. So listen, well, Roc Nation, were you ever, and I know you were in the same room with Jay-Z on multiple occasions, right? I was that's my favorite rapper. I used to get into arguments with people in high school about who was better between him and Nas. How did you get that position, and what was it like being that close to somebody who I looked up to? I don't know if you did, but I definitely did.
No, he's definitely my favorite rapper.
And that was before you got the job.
That was before I got there. I mean, it's Jay was up there. I mean, it's Jay, Ye, Cole.
It's a few of them, right?
Kendrick,
Dre.
No, so I got that job because I wanted to work in culture. They reached out and
They reached out to you?
Yeah, they reached out to me, and I saw it just as an opportunity. I'm like, all right, I'll take a listen, and I was able to I accepted it.
How did you get on their radar?
I don't know, man. People,
you didn't ask that question, huh?
LinkedIn, they saw my website, Instagram. I believe everything that you put out there is a promotional tool. So,
absolutely.
Like if someone, and sports is a small industry. So anytime like someone, like if you go to my Instagram, it primarily focuses around sport design, maybe some family photos like that. That's basically it. Right? My website's all sports related stuff.
Absolutely.
LinkedIn is very professional. That has my list of, whatever.
You use it as a tool versus some people where it's like they can become so immersed in it and it takes away their time from doing things that obviously would be more productive. You use it as a tool.
Yeah, I use it as a tool. Plus, like I'm in it as a profession, so like I know all the like the good and the bad. It's like, you know what, I'm not about to put all this stuff out there on social because like it don't go away.
Yeah.
And these are the things that we're telling athletes when I was at Roc Nation is like, no, like these, we have millions of dollars on the line. Like, one bad tweet can bring a player's, money potential down a couple $1,000,000 because you decided to tweet something that was whether it was, it could have been wrong, right? And now like you're dropping down in the draft because of that. So especially like the young athletes, you're trying to get that first contract, and you're doing something stupid on social when you're in college, and now coaches and GMs are looking at that, and they will really judge you based off of like your tweets that you're putting out. So now you don't even get the big check because of some dumb tweet, some dumb Instagram post, that you put out.
Wow. So Jay-Z, when you met him in real life, I mean, like, it just, for me, I'm fanning out right now. How was it? You know what I'm saying? Does he have that aura where you like, oh yeah, I could tell why he's who he is?
Yeah, look, first time I met him, he was walking through the offices or whatnot. I'm sitting in my office. I think I was on a call or something. He kind of just float by. I mean,
just kind of floated by.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's Jay. Like, I give him a what's up. He's doing his rounds. I'm like, oh man, this is Jay. I was excited.
Yeah.
Second time it happened, okay, this Jay right there. All right. Third time it happened, I'm like, all right, cool. You know what? It was cool to get this picture. Cool. Fourth time, like so. He's in the offices. He was in the offices a lot. So like you kind of just see him around, and
it becomes normal after
a while.
It
becomes normal. It becomes normal.
Damn. Okay, so you there, and now you're getting ready, or have you started working for Under Armour yet?
Yeah, I've been there about a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is obviously more responsibility.
Yeah.
But you up for the challenge?
Yeah, no, definitely up for the challenge, because one thing that I wanted to do, because I've seen the success, my past successes at St. John's, at the work that I've been doing with the freelance assignments, NBA, Bleacher Report. I've seen the success at MLS, at Roc Nation. I understand like the talent level that I have, and I also just recognize that, okay, look, I have this enthusiasm, passion, and expertise in sports, especially social, and how we tell that story. I wanted to welcome the challenge. Again, it goes back to stepping out one's comfort zone and shaking everybody's hands in bridge. And it's like, all right, well, let me step out my comfort zone. I want to see how my skills would translate to a global brand like Under Armour.
Yeah,
wow. It's a $6 billion company. Yeah. And
we're talking about The Roc. We're talking about Steph Curry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to see like, how my skills would translate, and, can I tell those stories? And I know I can. It's just another challenge. So I'm excited about it.
Wow. So out of all, and I only named a few of the celebrities and athletes that he's worked with many, many more, right? Out of everybody, who was the one person that exceeded your expectations where you were like, damn, man, this dude is, the most memorable experience you've had with an icon or a celebrity? And then tell me about the experience of meeting somebody where you were underwhelmed. It's like, man, I looked up to you, and you an asshole. You don't have to tell us who that person is, but
I don't say that.
Yeah. But do you have an experience on both ends of the spectrum?
Yeah. So the
first one is like, who exceeded your expectations in terms of like, man, you even cooler than I thought you would be.
All right. So you will only know this person if you're a big Jay-Z fan. Like the normal person probably wouldn't know him, but it's his best friend, like OG Juan.
All right. I ain't know him.
All right,
I know Tata and a few others, but yeah.
So Juan he's in that same category. Mm-hmm. So he runs Roc Sport. So like he has this energy about himself. Like he takes meetings like all day just with all the athletes, and he owns a room, and he's so like the way like he can talk to anybody about any topic, and you'd be surprised. I'm talking like he could be talking to Kevin Hart, Jason Tatum. It don't matter who it is, Lil Uzi, Meek Mill. It don't matter who it is.
Like a chameleon, he can adjust.
I mean, and everyone knows him. Everyone has a good time, and he does this constantly all day, every day. Like there's no shut off. So I learned so much just by even seeing that.
It's almost like an intangible gift, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But the actual, celebrity, It's a good question. I mean, like I would say Jay, just being in the same room.
That's it. I mean, really. So what about like a person? Did you ever have an experience that underwhelmed you, where it was like, damn, man, this dude kind of rude or something like that? You don't have to name them, but has that happened?
I mean, I think naturally that's gonna happen
because people are human. He might have called him on a bad day.
Yeah. Or even like. I think what's wrong with America just in general, like, they celebrate celebrity, like they put them on this pedestal. It was like, well, why are they the spokesperson? Like, why are you making them the spokesperson? But, I look at people, especially like being in the athlete, I'm in sports like my entire career. Like, they're just like you and me. I mean, there's people too. They just happen to be getting paid millions of dollars for doing what it is that they love to do. So I don't think that anyone underwhelms me. It's like, I just see them. I see everyone as people.
Right. So even if they were having a bad day, and maybe you caught the bad end of it, right? It's almost like, yeah, but I'm not necessarily defining you based on that. We're all multi-layered individuals.
Exactly.
I get you. Damn, that's what's up. Okay, now let me ask you a question. You were like a flag football legend. No, I'm just saying you won a lot of championships, man. And then I don't know. Did you? Because you tore your Achilles.
I did.
Was that playing flag football?
Nah, man. I was.
Hold on, because I wanted to believe it was like you was in some heated battle on the field.
Okay, I was.
Yeah.
Right? But I was playing at St. John's. We were playing in the practice the practice
Oh
facility.
shoot! Wow.
And I was just playing against just some people, staff or whatnot, coaches. And I swear I was having my best game I ever played. I'm talking smack,
Killing.
I'm doing a step back off the three. I'm calling my shots. I'm talking.
You looking like James Harden.
I'm talking all kind of smack. I'm just going with it, man. Like
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, like I take a shot, I make it, I come down, boom. I'm like, yo, man, something's going on. And we're in the practice facility, and the crazy thing is, the trainer came out, the strength coach comes out. He's eating a bag of chips. He had a hat on.
Yeah.
Looks down at me, say, "Yo, your shit's torn, bro." I'm like, "Yo, that can't be right." He said, "Yo, your Achilles is torn," and he walked away. Wow. And then I go into the trainer office, and then he looks at it. He said, "Oh, no, it's not torn. You'll be in much more pain."
Yeah.
In fact, it was torn, and ended up having surgery on it.
Yeah, and you ended up staying home for a while. That was probably your first time just being like not able to move. I think you had only one client at the time. I think Aisha was. Oh, hold on, I done my research, man. Aisha was pregnant at the time. You felt stuck, and that was the point. That was the point in your life where you had this breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
And then even from that point forward, you started paying more attention to your mental wellness and all of these other things. What did you learn during that time? What was it like actually having to physically be still in that moment when you're typically the type of person who's running a million miles an hour?
I think that was the one moment in my life that it changed my entire life.
Wow.
All right, because like you said, I was at home stuck. I was there. Like I think that was God's way of just slowing me down.
Yeah.
And like, yo, hey, sit down, because it was during that moment I questioned everything. Right, because like when I say everything, it's more so like it related to like my design career, which ultimately like set me up for success. Because I had one client which I was grateful for, but I had been doing that for like 4 years already. So I was always wondering, like, man, what's next? Mm-hmm. And I had been reaching out to all these different schools, and I just kept hearing no, or like no one was responding back. I'm like, man, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, how come I'm not like moving? How come I'm not gaining any traction? I'm working as one client, not realizing that the one client was really building up, just my skills, my routines, my whole setup. But I got to this level of frustration, and now being able to, I'm sitting there in my own thoughts now, but I'm still reaching out to people, hearing nothing.
Wow. Yeah.
So there was a point where I was going to quit graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what? I'm going to quit. I'm going to reach out to, because I was reaching out to smaller schools because I said, they don't got the budget to do X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to reach out to these small schools and offer them service.
Wow. Yeah.
So it got to a point where I knew I was going to quit. I said, no one's reaching out. This isn't for me. Hey, God, this isn't for me, because like there's no progress. So I'm going to stop. I said, but before I stop, I'm going to send some emails, because I want to make sure that I'm stopping. I left everything on the table. I'm going to send a couple emails to Michigan and Northwestern, just kind of just do it. So I sent them an email, boom, 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 close the computer, open up 2K. Like, what? My graphic design career to this day is done. Like, I was for real, like, finished. I was done designing. I was done. I closed my eyes to it. Not like an hour later, I get an email from Northwestern.
Wow.
And they said, we hopped on the phone, and they wanted me to, take on some of their design work, but they wanted me to do it for free.
Yeah.
And I said, all right,
But it's still Northwestern.
Well, yeah. So I said, all right, cool, I'll do it for free. His boss got on. He said, well, no, your work is too good to do for free. But I was already willing. So this is like the next day.
Wow.
Your work is too good to do for free. They're going to pay me my rate. I'm like, man, this is great. So they became a client.
I don't think that ever happened in history. Then they said, no, you're too good.
No.
So we going to pay you right.
Yeah. So they became a long-standing client. And then all right, so backing up again to the day, I quit because I sent Michigan the email. Michigan got back to me. And the guy had emailed me back, and it finds out, he says, oh yeah, I'm familiar with your work already, because those guys ended up, like, they were working for the Knicks when I was at St. John's.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, we remember seeing your work, plastered all over MSG, inside the garden.
That's Madison Square Garden.
Right, yeah, because St. John's played basketball there as well. So, like, they saw my work. And when I reached out, they said, oh, so, like, they became a client. So, like, in the moment where I gave up, because at that point, it's like, it's not to my own will anymore. This is God now, because, like, because I gave up. I was done.
This is powerful.
But when those two people reached out, and that was the moment where my life changed, because they became long-lasting clients. Michigan was my biggest client for a couple years, and that changed everything, because I was able to. I call that the harvest. It was the harvest season. I was like really just grinding. Like
it was almost like a point of like where you were reborn, so to speak.
Yeah.
And not only that, like you said, you were used to just moving fast, and it humbled you to the point to where you like, hey, some things are beyond my control. So let me not be so quick to act, and just sometimes sit in the stillness and be patient.
Yeah, sit, be still, be patient, listen. But like once those two things happened, it was, I was able to afford down payment on a house in 1 year, just based off like freelance.
Damn.
Like it was.
And then you started your basketball career back up after the Achilles healed.
Stayed away. I haven't played competitive basketball.
No, after that, you just got to say, okay, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you get older and you realize, I got too much to lose now.
I got too much.
I got kids and stuff. Like I can't be like out of commission. Like
no.
Off of what? Just talking trash to some 22-year-old?
A pickup game or something, right?
Like, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna join a under 40 league, man.
So you and Aisha, man, and Aisha was really cool back in college. I remember her being extremely intelligent, full of personality. And you guys have been married for how many years?
We got married in 2009. So
shit, that's about 13 years?
Yeah.
I think so. Right? So y'all been married for 13 years. Yep. Every year for y'all anniversary, y'all do like a Memorial Day barbecue where y'all honor each other and bring family and friends out, right? I mean, that was a thing. I know during the pandemic you guys didn't do it, but that was a thing. And then for the 10-year anniversary, you can correct me if I'm wrong on all of this. The 10-year anniversary, you guys traveled Europe, and this was without the kids, right? Yeah. Barcelona, Florence, you know what I'm saying? Y'all went to Naples, all of these different places. Go ahead.
You know a lot, huh?
Well, I told you I admire you, man. So this is kind of like, don't call the police on me after this, Mekale. But yeah, but y'all traveled, Europe and did all of these things, and are raising 3 beautiful kids right now. What I want to know is that, I guess my question is, and you guys just look happy. It don't mean that y'all don't go through shit, but y'all keep it intact. What's the secret to being together for as long as you have? Because that's just not a thing. That's not common these days. In fact, the divorce rate is extremely high. Yeah. More people are actually not married than are, obviously. You know what I'm saying? In the Black community, I think, back in before 1960 or whatever, the marriage rate was up in the high 50s, 60s, and now it's like down, right? Yeah. What's the secret to making it work this long?
Well, we've been together 18 years. Like, so
started in college. Yeah. Okay. What drew you to her? Let me ask that question.
If I'm being honest, like, her legs.
That's the most honest answer. Yeah, I like that.
I saw her. Like, she had the best set of legs.
Yeah,
man. She had like perfect skin. There's no flaws on her skin. I'm like, oh man, who is this, man? Like, so that initially drew me to her, and then I started to know her, and I said, I'm like, oh man, I don't see an ending with her. Mm-hmm. Like she seems fun. Like it's like she was fun, and I didn't see it ending. Like I could sit with her and look at her, knowing that I don't see this thing ending. Yeah. So that's what drew me to her, and it was still keep me with her to this day. But what's the magic to 13 years, 18 years, all together? Like, there's any relationship requires work. Mm-hmm. I mean, like it requires a strong foundation in God. Number one, you have to get married for the right reasons. And then, 2, I think that, we both come from households where both of our parents have been married for 40 years. So it's like,
had the blueprint already.
Yeah, the blueprint was there. But I mean, like a marriage, like takes work. Like it's hard. Like, it requires selflessness and selfishness. It requires sacrifice. It requires, just both people knowing that, divorce isn't an option.
We in this.
Yeah. I mean, look, and there's good, there's bad, there's ups, there's downs. There's
like anything.
Yeah, like anything, and I think that one thing that, that really, like we went, through counseling together. It was like, I think like that did a lot, because I'm not the same man that I was at 22. Like, don't compare me to the Mekale 22. Don't compare me to the Mekale 25. Don't compare me to the Mekale at 30. I have viewpoints. I have different viewpoints. I like certain things. I don't like certain things, because we were together since we were essentially kids. Like, we met when we were 20, and so now I'm, there's 18 years later. Like, I'm not the same person. She's not the same person, but that love is still the same. It's like, okay, it just takes something to, like, you have to evolve with it. But yeah, I mean, there's no secret sauce. It just takes dedication and, just trying to, you got to keep that spark alive.
I've been with my wife since, great answer too, Mekale. I've been with my wife since college too. And people always ask me, I say, hey man, you have to be willing to compromise, negotiate, got to understand that with every disagreement, sometimes it's going to take several tough conversations in order to reach a good place, right? And then you don't have to solve it all in one night. So having a short memory, being able to say, all right, I love you, give her a kiss goodnight, even after an argument doesn't go your way. And then the other thing is, well, you're not going to walk away from anything but all of what you want,
right?
But maybe just a little bit. And I think if both people are committed to playing that game, then it increases the chance of how long they're able to stay together.
Yeah.
What has being a dad taught? Now you a father of 3. You got, let me see, you got 2 girls? You're a girl dad and 1 boy. He's the middle child.
Yeah.
So what has that taught you?
Taught me patience, man. And then I like being a dad. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you realize that your kids are essentially you as a kid. Like, it's scary when you look at it, like, man, how does my son know these things? How does he act like this? And I didn't teach him, but it's like you see yourself through your kids.
Part of your DNA.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, like, this is, I mean, it's cool to look at. But like it's just this next step of being an adult, right? It's
a certain maturity that you get that you can only get from raising kids,
right,
really.
Yeah.
Because you're responsible for something that's more important than yourself, and they have to lean on you heavily, especially in the younger days.
Yeah. And then it's just a matter of just cultivating whatever their skills are, coaching
great responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah, pushing them in the right direction. Like, I don't try to force anything on them. But what I do force, creativity. I want you to be creative, because I believe that, being creative is an outlet for anything. Like,
you need that balance.
Yeah.
Because life is somewhat taken so seriously at times. And like you said earlier in the conversation, you were like, I believe that people should spend some time doing something outside of the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Even if it's just an hour a day or whatever the case may be. So that's what you encourage at a young age in them, or instill in them, because you know how important that's going to be when they become adults.
Yeah.
Damn, man. I know this. This probably might be the longest interview I ever had, but I'm gonna close it up, man. The thing about the reason why I had you on, you're, like I said, you're a jack of all trades, a very intuitive, a very mature, a very much industrious and just driven person. Perspicacious is a great word that describes who this gentleman is. Longevity, your commitment to longevity, man. Being able to stay in one career. First off, you took your time to find out what you wanted to do after you graduated, and you stayed in it for a long time. You got to a point to where you questioned everything, but you kept going because you got that sign from God. And sometimes we reach that point where we're in the desert. You know what I'm saying? We ain't drunk no water for a long time, ain't ate nothing, and we like, God, please reveal yourself to me. And he did. So you stayed with the same thing, right? You're like I said, 13 years you've been married, but you've been knowing her for 18 years. You stayed in this through the ups and downs. Duran Kidd, your best friend. You've been best friends with Duran Kidd. He goes up, shout out to Duran Kidd, because he's a photographer. And I'm sure that has something to do with you eventually getting good with the photos too. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not.
No, but I mean, like he's shot all of our
Family
photos.
pics. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
he's been on first day of high school is when I met
So
him.
about 24, 25 years, right?
Yeah.
And if you are going to be committed to longevity, to the idea of longevity, you have to be committed to going through the ups and downs, because you can't get to the point of becoming the best version of yourself unless you're willing to go through the difficult process
Right.
that you have to go through to get there.
Yeah.
And you've committed to all of these things. So that is the thing that I admire most about you, is your commitment to longevity, because we live in a day and age where people are so quick to give up. Yeah. And maybe they should, because maybe things are becoming so hard to where it's not good for their mental health, or it becomes detrimental or abusive, whatever the case may be. But then there's some people that just walk away because stuff gets difficult. And we celebrate that now. But I'm celebrating the person who's willing to stay in something and commit to the idea of longevity, whether it's marriage, a platonic friendship, your career, because we don't see that too often. Right. And I think it's so important to where our society goes in the next 20, 40 years, when we dead and gone and our kids are still here. Well, I hope we still here after 20, 30, 40 years, you get my point. But what I'm saying is that I just appreciate you for taking the time out, because you moving, man, and sky is the limit. So thank you, Mekale Jackson.
Appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you, man.
All right.
Conversations with TinBridge. Peace.